Hello, this is Slow Night Sleepy Stories. In our last story, we left Shim Cheong deep beneath the sea, waiting inside a mystical lotus flower. Tonight we share the final chapter of her journey. It is a story about a miraculous reunion and the light that returns after a long darkness. Just as the longest, coldest night eventually gives way to the warm dawn, no darkness in our lives lasts forever. In tonight's story, Shim Cheong's father finally opens his eyes. Imagine that moment, not as a shock, but as a deep, overwhelming sense of relief. The heavy burden he carried for a lifetime simply melts away into the light. I hope your worries, too, dissolve just like that. You can relax now. This story has a happy ending waiting for you. So, breathe in deeply and let us walk together toward that warm, welcoming light. It was the vast blue ocean and turbulent waves. The seagulls of the white sandbar flew into the red knotweed fields, and the wild geese of the Xiang River returned to the Han River. At this time, the loud sound of water and the sound of flutes were distinct, but amidst the grain seeds not seen, only the mountain peaks were blue. This place is the lonely island in the middle of the river called Guanasong. When passing by to hold a funeral, the Grand Master was nowhere to be found. Looking upon the Miluo River, does the loyal soul of Qiyuan Gulsamyo in the fish's belly still grieve limitlessly? Arriving at the Yellow Crane Tower, asking where the lodging is as the sun sets, the misty rivers and mountains are the historic sights of Koi Hao. Arriving at Phoenix Terrace, the three mountains are half fallen outside the blue sky, and the two waters are divided at White Egret Island. This is where Li Bai, Li Po, used to play. Arriving at the Xunyang River, where did Bai Jui go? Only the sound of the lute, pipa, has ceased. Shall we just pass the Red Cliff River? The wind and moon that Sudongpo recited remain as they were. But where is Chow Chow, the hero of his age now? In the deep night when the moon sets and crows caw, mooring the boat at Gusu City, the bell of Hanshan Temple reaches the guest boat. Crossing the Qinhuai River, the merchant women, unaware of the sorrow of a ruined nation, sing Flowers in the Rear Garden under the hazy moon. Entering the Shaoxiang River, the Yueyang Tower, a high house, floats upon the lake. Looking southeast, the Wu Mountains are 1,000 layers, and the lands of Chu are endless. The 8 views of Shaoxiang are spread before the eyes. Looking around vividly, the river and sky are vast and obscure. The rain coming down, Udaryuk, is the tears of Yihuang and Nu Ying. The speckles on the rotten branches of the spotted bamboo. Is this not the night rain on the Shaoxiang? The clear water of the 700-li lake, the autumn moon rising, the sky and water sharing the same blue color. The old fisherman sleeps and only the wild geese fly in. Is this not the autumn moon over Dongting? On the wide waters southeast of Wu and Chu, the merchant ships, coming and going, hoist their sails in the fair wind. Beating drums, dung-dung, shouting, Eogia, Eogia. Is this not the returning sails off distant shore? Smoke rising from cooking rice in the river village across the bank, the setting sun hitting the river, revealing the face of the mirror on the stone cliff. Is this not the sunset over fishing village, Musa Nakjo? The mountain stream is deep green, and the old dragon rises and surrounds it in a flock. Is this not the evening bell from mist-shrouded temple? Unable to bear the clear wish of the peace, that wild goose flying here holding a reed in its beak, flying in gradually and crying. Is this not the wild geese descending on Sandbank, Pyeongsanaga? Passing by the Xiang River crying, the old shrine is distinct. I thought the souls of the southern tour brothers, Shun, would surely be there, but at my sound they shed tears. Is this not the moonlit night on Lake Dongting? At the sound of the morning bell, the chime stones mix in ding-ding, waking the traveler on the boat 1,000 li away from his deep sleep. The old monk in front of the table chants Amitabha. Is this not the evening bell at mist-shrouded temple, Hansa Mojang? After seeing all 8 views, just as they were about to set sail, a wind arose and the sound of jade pendants was heard. From between the bamboo grove, 2 ladies wearing tall immortal caps and dragging shoes beneath red skirts appeared. Sim Soje, young lady Sim, going there, you will not know me. Only when Mount Changwu collapses and the Xiang River runs dry will the tears on the bamboo branches disappear. We had nowhere to complain of our deep sorrow for 1,000 autumns, but we came out to commend your supreme filial piety. In the thousands of years since Yao and Shun, what time is it now? Is the five-string lute song of the south wind still handed down? Be careful on your long, distant journey over the water. Saying this, they suddenly vanished. Shim Cheong thought to herself, these are the two queens, A Huang and Nu Ying. Arriving at the western mountain, the wind and waves grew violent, the cold air was desolate, and black clouds gathered. A man appeared. His face was like a wheel, his brow broad. He wrapped his body in leather, closed his eyes tight, and called out to Shim Cheong. Alas, the king of Wu listened to the slander of Bo Pi and gave me the Shulo sword to slit my throat. After I died, he wrapped my body in lacquered leather and threw me into this water. How sad. To see the resentment of a great man and the destruction of Yue distinctly, I gouged out my eyes and hung them on the east gate, and indeed I saw it. However, who will peel the leather wrapped around my body? It is my regret that I have no eyes. Asking who this is, it is the loyal subject of Wu Zixu. The wind and clouds cleared, the sun and moon became bright, and the waves were calm. Then, two people came out to the riverbank. The person in front had the bearing of a prince, but the dark gloom on his face bore the worries of a whole nation, and his clothes were tattered. He was clearly a man of Chu. Weeping, he said, "It is sad and resentful to be deceived by Qin, becoming a ghost that cannot return, looking back at my homeland from a foreign land for 3 years. It is a deep regret of 1,000 autumns. I became a resentment bird, Chohunjo, and hearing the sound of the iron hammer at Balangsha with joy, I danced in vain under the moon of Lake Dongting." The person behind him looked gaunt, and his appearance was dried up. "I am Qyuan of Chu. I served King Huai but met with the slander of Zilan. Trying to wash my dirty body, I came to this water and drowned. How pitiful! They told me to serve our Lord even after death, so I came to this land and attended him. The Li Sao I wrote is known to the world." Poetic lamentations. How many literary talents have there been in the world? You die for filial piety to your parent, and I exhausted my loyalty. Loyalty and filial piety are one and the same. I came to comfort you. Please go in peace on the 10,000 L journey of the Blue Sea. Shim Cheong thought, spirits dead for thousands of years remain to appear to the eyes of the living. These two are ghosts. It is an omen of my death. She sighed sadly. How many nights is the sleep in the water? How many days is the night on the boat? Suddenly 4 or 5 days pass like this water. The autumn wind is desolate, and the sound of rain is striking. Fallen flowers fly like swallows around an old tree, and the autumn water shares the same color as the vast sky. This is a verse written by Wang Bo. Endless falling leaves are desolate, and the inexhaustible long river flows rolling on. This is a verse recited by Du Fu. The river and Han River are clear, so the yellow gold is in pieces. Reed flowers fly in the wind like 10,000 dots of white snow. The leaves passing in the fine rain of Xinfeng blow in the clear wind of the Jade Tower. Lonely fishing boats raise their lamps high and respond with fishermen's songs. Is this not also sorrow? The green mountains on the coast become blades peak by peak, lining up. It is the burial ground of water spirits. The autumn color of Changsha where the sun sets is distant. I do not know where the connection to the ancestors lies. Can Songyu's rhyme of sorrow act exceed this? Are they the boats of Qin Shi Huang carrying boys and girls to find the elixir of life? Since the necromancer Shufu is absent, is it the boat of Emperor Wu of Han seeking immortals? Even if one wants to die, the immortals stand guard. If one wants to live, the homeland is vastly distant. Arriving at a place, they lowered the sails and dropped the anchor. This was the very A gale blew violently, the sea turned over, fish and dragons seemed to fight, and thunder seemed to rise. In the middle of the great ocean, the boat carrying 10,000 suk lost its oars, the anchor chain broke, the mast rope snapped, and the rudder fell off. The wind blew, waves crashed, mist and rain mixed and became thick. The way to go was thousands of lie remaining, and all 4 sides were dark and crushed. Heaven and earth were silent, and only treacherous spirits floated up. The sides of the boat went tang tang, the mast went wajik-gun, crack, and in a moment of danger, the head boatman, terrified out of his wits, prepared the sacrifice. They made rice with som, straw sacks of rice, put wine in jars, caught a large ox and placed its left leg, left head, and limbs cut apart. They caught a large pig, boiled it whole, stuck a large knife in it, and propped it up as if it were running. 3 colors of fruits, 5 colors of sweet water, fish on the east, meat on the west. They arranged the ceremonial table. They bathed Shim Cheong, dressed her cleanly in white clothes, and seated her at the head of the table. Look at the head boatman's behavior. He beat the drum. Duridung, duridung! We pray to the 33 heavens. We pray to the 28 constellations, the void, the heavens, the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, the Triastrimsa heaven and the 10 kings. To the Jade Emperor in heaven, and Emperor Xuanyuan, who rules the 12 empires of the great earth. Confucius, Mencius, Yanhui, and Zhengzi created the laws, and Sakyamuni Buddha established the way. Fuxi drew the 8 trigrams, Shenong tasted 100 herbs to make medicine, and Xuanyuan built boats to allow crossing. Following the example, later generations live by the professions of scholar, farmer, artisan, and merchant. Is this not a great merit? Yu the Great rowed a boat during the 9-year flood and saved everyone. Boatman lists historical figures associated with boats. Our 24 comrades have made trading our profession. The Dragon King of Indangsu receives human sacrifice, so we offer Shim Cheong, a 15-year-old filial daughter from Dowadong in the Yuri country, as a sacrifice. Dragon Kings of the 4 seas, please accept her gently. God of the East Sea, Amyong, God of the West Sea, Geosong, God of the South Sea, Chukyong, God of the North Sea, Ongang, listing various dragon kings, please look down upon us. Open the wind palace on the 10,000-li water road. Put us in the troughs by day. Let the boat become cast iron, the anchor become cast iron, the ropes become cast iron. Let there be no falling worries, no lost items. Save us from disaster. Let us make a profit of hundreds of thousands of gold. Please bless us with great fortune. Beating the drum. Shim Cheong, the time is urgent. Enter the water quickly. Look at Shim Cheong's behavior. She clasped her hands, stood up, and prayed to God. I pray to God. Shim Cheong's death is not a matter of regret in the slightest, but I must resolve the deep sorrow of my disabled father before I die. As I face this death, may heaven be moved and open my father's dim eyes brightly. She raised her arm to wipe her tears. Respected merchants, go in peace. If you make a profit of hundreds of thousands of gold and pass this water again, please call my soul and give me a bowl of water rice. She spread her 2 arms wide and stepped onto the gunwale. The rushing blue water swirled, surged, and overturned. The foam bubbled. Shim Cheong, terrified, fell back onto her buttocks, grabbed the gunwale again, and fainted face down, a sight too pitiful to behold. Shim Cheong, having no choice, regained her senses, stood up, wrapped her whole body tightly, covered her face with her skirt, and retreated with faltering steps. She threw her body into the vast ocean. I go, father, I am dying. As one foot slipped on the gunwale, she fell headlong, splash, into the water. The apricot blossom chased the waves, and the bright moon sank into the sea. This is what is called a single grain of millet in the vast ocean. As soon as she entered, the waves became calm like a clear mind. The gale died down, fog settled, passing clouds stopped, and the blue mist in the clear sky was bright like the day the morning sun comes from the east. The head boatman said, Since the weather is smooth after the sacrifice, is this not the virtue of Lady Shim? The group was of one mind. They ended the rite, drank a cup of wine each, smoked a pipe of tobacco each. Let's set sail. Yes, let's do that. Eogia, Eogia. With a song of Guane Seong, they hoisted the 3-seam sails on both sides. Entering Nanjing, they arrived in an instant, like an arrow shot into the rapids of the sleeping dragon, or like news sent via a wild goose to the North Sea. The Klimchong in the Dragon Palace. At this time, Lady Shim thought she had died entering the vast ocean, but 5-colored clouds were iridescent, and a strange fragrance pierced her nose. The clear sound of a jade flute was heard softly. As she hesitated, the Jade Emperor gave a command to the Dragon King of Indangsu, the Dragon Kings of the 4 seas, and the King of the Underworld. Tomorrow, the filial daughter Shim Cheong will go there. Do not let a single drop of water touch her body. If you make a mistake in serving her, the Dragon Kings will receive divine punishment, and the king of the underworld will be punished. Escort her to the crystal palace, serve and adorn her for 3 years, and then send her back to the world." Upon this command, the dragon kings and the king of the underworld were all terrified. Countless generals of the rivers and soldiers of the heavens and marshes gathered. The turtle, the terrapin, the carp, the trout, the crucian carp, the catfish gatekeeper, the mandarin fish, countless water officials and soldiers, and countless fairies waited with a white jade palanquin. Indeed, when the jade-like Lady Sim jumped into the water, the fairies caught her and placed her on the palanquin. Lady Sim regained her senses and said, "How can a lowly life from the dusty world ride a palanquin of the dragon palace?" The fairies replied, "The Jade Emperor's command is strict. If you do not ride, our Dragon King cannot escape punishment. Do not decline. Please ride." Lady Sim, having no choice, sat high on the palanquin. 8 fairies carried it, 6 dragons guarded it, and generals and soldiers escorted left and right. 2 boys riding blue cranes led the way, making a path through the seawater. As they entered with music, heavenly officials and fairies lined up to see Lady Sim. Description of the procession of immortals and music. Entering the Crystal Palace, it was a separate world, not the human world. The Dragon King of the South Sea, wearing a crown and holding a white jade scepter, entered brilliantly. 3,000 palace ladies and 800 officials lined up outside the Hall of Eternal Virtue and shouted, "Long live!" The decoration of the house, how magnificent and grand. Description of the palace's beauty, jewels, and scenery. Looking at the food, it was not the food of the world. Purple glowing wine, 1,000-day wine in glass cups and amber bowls. Description of exotic foods. The dragon kings of the 4 seas each sent maids to inquire after her morning and evening. They served her with utmost care, fearing only that they might be lacking. The father's grief and the floating flower. At this time, the wife of Chancellor Zhang in Morong village hung Lady Sim's writing on the wall and looked at it every day. The color did not change. But one day, water flowed on the scroll and the paper turned black. She lamented, thinking Shim Cheong had drowned. After a while, the water dried and the paper became bright again. The lady wondered, did someone save her? But thought, how could that be easily so? That night, Chancellor Zhang's wife prepared offerings and went to the river to call Shim Cheong's soul and comfort it. Description of the scenery and the ritual. She poured a cup and wept, comforting the soul. Alas, sad, Sim Soje. It is human nature to hate death and love life. You ended your life to repay your father's grace. Come and accept this offering. As she wailed, nature seemed to sympathize. Suddenly, a streak of clear energy appeared at the prow of the boat from the middle of the river and then disappeared, and the weather became bright. The lady was happy. Seeing the full cup half empty, she felt the young lady's soul was present. One day, Lady Okjin of the Palace of Vast Cold, Guang, was coming, and the water palace seemed to turn upside down. The Dragon King was terrified. Originally, this lady was Sim Bongsa's wife, Lady Guak, who had died and become Lady Okjin. Hearing that her daughter Sim Soje had come to the water palace, she asked the emperor for leave to meet her. Sim Soje did not know who it was. Description of the grand procession. She stepped down from the palanquin and onto the stepping stone. "My daughter, Shim Cheong." Hearing the voice, Shim Cheong knew it was her mother and rushed out. "Mother, Mother, you gave birth to me and died within 7 days. I haven't seen your face for 15 years. If I had known I would meet you here, I would have told Father, our reunion is good, but who will your lonely father look upon to be happy?" The thought of her father was renewed. The lady wept and said, "I died and became a ghost, asking about your father. Does he look old? Is the neighbor Gwideakeomi good to you?" She touched her face and hands. "Your ears and neck are white, just like your father. Your hands and feet are pretty. How could you not be my daughter? You still have the jade ring I wore. Oh my, you are wearing the pouch and knots. It is the joy and sorrow of humans to part from a father and see a mother. But how do you know that I will part from you again today and meet my father again? I must go back. We will have a day to meet again later." She shook her off and rose. The young lady could not stop her and had no way to follow, so she cried and bid farewell, staying in the Crystal Palace. At this time, Sim Bongsa, blind man Sim, having lost his daughter and unable to end his tough life, lived barely surviving. The people of Do Wadong, pitying Sim Soja's filial piety in drowning herself, erected a Taru monument and wrote a poem. Sim Bongsa hugged the monument and cried whenever he thought of his daughter. The village people managed Sim Mengin's money and grain well, so his wealth increased every year. Who was known for sleeping around and acting like a dog in heat with red eyes day and night in the village, knew Sim Bongsa had a lot of money. She volunteered to become his concubine. This woman's mouth habits were as bad as her sexual habits. She didn't want to play, work, for even a moment. Giving away rice to buy rice cakes, giving away linen to buy money to buy alcohol, napping under the pavilion, eating meals at neighbors' houses, cursing at villagers, fighting with woodcutters, getting drunk and wailing in the middle of the night, asking for tobacco from anyone she saw, seducing bachelors. She combined all evil traits. But Sim Bongsa, having been starving for years, found some joy in it and didn't know any better. His property gradually diminished. Sim Bongsa thought and said, "Look here, Pengdeok's mother. People whispered we were rich, but lately somehow the wealth has failed and we are about to beg. I am old, but I am ashamed to beg again. Where shall we go?" Pengdeok replied, "Blind man, what have you eaten? The price of the porridge you ate every morning is 82 yang. Is it that steep? I wanted to eat apricots so much when I was pregnant. Apricot price is 70 yang. Is it that steep? Stop laughing vainly. They say what a woman eats is what a rat eats. Let's sell all our household goods and go to a strange land. Let's do that." They sold everything, carried their belongings on their backs and heads, and left to wander. Sim Cheong's return. One day, the Jade Emperor commanded the Dragon King, "Sim Soja's preordained time with her husband is near, so send her back to Indangsu." The Dragon King put her in a large flower bud, gave her 2 maids, food and jewels, put it in a jade pot, and sent it to Indangsu. Sim Cheong returned to Indangsu, floating in the flower. The merchants returning from Nanjing saw the flower floating in the exact spot where Sim Cheong had jumped. They held a memorial service for her. "Filial daughter Sim Soj, we are returning. If your soul is here, please accept this offering." They saw the flower, picked it up, and found it huge. "This is a flower not of this world." They loaded it. The return journey took only a few days instead of 40 or 50. The head boatman took the flower bud to his home. The emperor and the flower. At this time, the emperor of the Song dynasty, having lost his empress, did not remarry. He planted flowers in the garden, list of many flowers, lotus, plum, peach, chrysanthemum, peony, etc. He admired them daily. The Nanjing merchant heard the news and presented the flower to the emperor. The emperor was delighted. He placed it in the hall of golden pole. It shone like the sun and moon. He named it Gangshonwa, descending immortal flower. Other flowers seemed inferior. One day, the emperor was walking by the flower. The bud opened, and a beautiful woman peeked out. The emperor saw this. He opened the bud and found a peerless beauty. "Are you a ghost or a human?" "I was a maid in the dragon palace." The emperor realized this was a match sent by heaven. They set the wedding date for May 5th. Sim Cheong became empress. The country celebrated. The merchant was given a government post. Sim Empress had everything but was sad thinking of her father. She wrote a letter and tried to send it via a wild goose, but the goose flew away. She wept. The emperor saw her crying. She confessed she was the daughter of blindman Sim of Dowadong. The emperor ordered Sim Hakyu to be found. The report came that he had left and his whereabouts were unknown. The empress wept. The emperor comforted her. The empress suggested a blind men's feast for the blind, for all blind men in the country to find her father. The emperor agreed and issued the decree. Sim Bongsa's journey to the capital. Sim Bongsa heard about the feast. He told Pengdeok, "Let's go to the capital." They traveled and stayed at an inn. There was a blind man named Huang Bongsa N. Irbi. He was half blind and rich. Pengdeok, being lewd, heard of him and wanted him. They conspired. She ran away with Huang Bongsa while Sim Bongsa slept. Sim Bongsa woke up, felt around, and found only rats. He realized she was gone. "You wicked woman, leaving a blind man alone on a 1,000-li journey." He lamented his fate. comparing her to his virtuous late wife Lady Guak and his filial daughter Shim Cheong. He continued alone. It was hot summer. He bathed in a stream. A thief stole his clothes and bundle. He wailed, "You thief! Stealing from a blind man." The magistrate of Murung passed by. Simbongsa tried to block the way to get help but was pushed away. He shouted, "I am a blind man going to the capital." The magistrate listened. Simbongsa told his story. The magistrate asked for a petition. Simbongsa composed a poem describing his plight, losing clothes, being blind, the feast. The magistrate was impressed and gave him clothes, a hat, and money. Simbongsa asked for shoes. A groom gave him cheap shoes. He asked for tobacco. They gave it. He continued, weeping. The milling song and arrival. He arrived at a place with birds singing, poetic description of birds. Herdboy children mocked him with a song. He arrived near the capital and found women pounding grain at a mill. He asked for food. They teased him, "Pound the grain and we'll give you food." He pounded the grain and sang a milling song, Banga Taryong. Eoyua, the millstone, singing about history of milling, pounding this grain, Eoyua Banga. The women laughed and gave him lunch. He entered the capital. It was full of blind men. He met a woman who asked, "Are you Simbongsa?" "How do you know?" "I had a dream. She was blind woman. She dreamed of the sun and moon falling into a well and her retrieving them. She took this as a sign she would meet Simbongsa. They slept together. Simbongsa had a dream about fire and skinning a cow to make a drum. He thought it meant death. Ansi interpreted it as good luck, wearing official robes, drum sounding in the palace. He went to the palace for the feast. The Empress watched the roll call. Simbongsa was not there. She lamented. It was the last day. Simbongsa arrived late. He was brought in. He looked old and wretched. The Empress asked, "Do you have a wife and children?" Simbongsa wept. "I lost my wife, had a daughter. A monk said if I gave 300 sacks of rice, my daughter sold herself to sailors and died in Indangsu at age 15. I am a wretch who killed his child." The Empress realized it was him. She rushed down and hugged him. "Father, I am Shim Cheong who fell into Indangsu." Simbongsa was shocked. "What?" In his extreme joy and shock, his eyes opened wide with a sound like a shell cracking. Fsh! He saw his daughter. He danced for joy. "Eolsigu! I see my daughter! My eyes are open!" All the blind men at the feast opened their eyes too. It was a miracle. Simbongsa was given the title Internal Prince, Buongan. Ensi was made Lady Jongriol. The village of Dowadong was rewarded. Hwangbongsa and Pengdeokyeomi were caught. Pengdeokyeomi was executed, torn apart, beheaded, for her treachery. Hwangbongsa was exiled or punished. The Empress held a great peace feast. Later, the Empress and Lady Anne, Sim's new wife, both gave birth to sons in the same month. Shim Cheong's son became the crown prince. Simbongsa's son was named Sim Taedong. They grew up. Sim Taedong married the daughter of the king of Yan. Sim Taedong became a high official. Simbongsa, now Nampyeong king, lived to 80 and passed away. The Empress mourned for 3 years. It ends with a moral: do not look down on people. Pleasure follows pain. Upper and lower volumes.